Stuff in the bottles. Okay, good.
Okay, call this meeting to order. The Public Works Waste Management Committee meeting of the whole Monday, June the 5th, 2023. First off, we'll have the adoption of the agenda. If I could have a mover and seconder. Councillor Smith, Councillor Renault. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Any disclosure of interest for tonight's meeting? Seeing none, we'll move into the Waste Management Section Committee of the whole. Yeah, the adoption of the minutes. Can I have a mover and seconder for that, Councillors Brayton and Mayor Burrow. Is there any questions or concerns about those set of minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of that? That's carried, thank you. Staff reports. Yeah. Staff report PWWM-23-26. Well, if I can get a mover and seconder to get that on the floor. Councillor Edie, Councillor Smith. Any questions, concerns, comments about this report? Mayor Burrow.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just wondering, in the report it mentions about doing some costing for possible distribution options. Just wondering if staff have had a chance to compile that information.
Go ahead.
Sure, through your chair, Litton to Mayor Burrow. So we did do some costing and on average, based on what we do our tax mail outs to almost 4,000 households, the costing is about 5,500. We were kind of second sober thought today thinking about the twofold, whether we mail it out with the tax bill. Now we can have upwards of 5 pieces of paper included in the tax bill envelope, and that still remains at the 92-cent level. Anything above 30 kilograms bumps it up to the $1.30. Internally, when we were discussing this, however, we did discover that if we were to send the survey by mail only, without a prepaid postage envelope, the chances of residents actually either mailing that back or dropping it off are probably relatively low. I wasn't able to find any survey stats with regard to that. So I was wondering at this point, whether advertising through all our various channels online and going forward with the sandwich boards and the QR codes at our various locations, whether we were to only print a select few hard copies and mail them out on a request basis, but prompt people to the online survey, just to try to accommodate anyone who does want to respond to the survey.
Okay, so I'll think on that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Councillor Renault.
Would the staff at the landfill be promoting it, telling everybody to do it, maybe have some hard copies on hand and
Yes.
the sandwich board with the QR? That might get more people to do it. And then of course where you sell it, if they're
Yes.
really pushing for people to do it.
Anyone else? Councillor Brayton.
Yeah. What percentage of yes or no are you going to take to carry or not carry, or is there a percentage that you want 30% or 90% or? Can anybody answer that?
Anyone want to take a stab? Go ahead.
I believe it was previously discussed that 51% would be that number. But I mean, I think it's still up for debate whether or not that's reasonable or not.
Councilor No, and Mayor Burrow.
That all depends on how you look at it. If you're saying 10 or 51% of the actual population of the households, or 51% of the actual returned surveys. And if the numbers are correct, if you get 10% of your surveys back, you're doing damn good. That's supposedly quite high to get 10% back. Well, to me, if we only got 10% of the surveys back, and 51% of that was a yes or a no or whatever, I wouldn't go with it either way, because that's not very many households within the township. It's a very.
Mayor Burrow.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So that was sort of where I was going to be taking this as well, is that there's a 51% in terms of the simple yes, no question, but then it's what threshold of participation are we going to consider to be valid? And surprisingly, if you speak to a statistician, which we could easily do there, Queen's University and for would be able to tell us with a population of 10,000 people, you know, is 1,000 responses, is 500 responses enough that if all of them responded, would the outcome be very much different? And I'm always surprised when I go through the math and I take a look at various surveys and stats and so on, the relatively small sample that it takes to be able to project something fairly accurate. Now, if the results are basically 50-50, no, I wouldn't necessarily, feel comfortable doing that. But if we get 10% response and 80% of those say, no, we don't want it, then I'd be saying, okay, well, it's a pretty good message. Where if 80% say we do want it. So I'm not so concerned about the 10%. I think I don't know that we can predetermine it, because if we get half of the population and it's like 60-40, I think that's a pretty decent foundation to make a decision. We only get 10% response, but it's wildly obvious. I think that's a solid foundation. So I think we have to wait and see what the results are to determine, is the context good or bad? And then I just don't think we can predetermine a specific threshold. I think there are too many factors involved in what would be a good result. Thanks.
Councilor Smith.
Thank you,
And Councilor Roosevelt.
I'm gonna take another different avenue with this one. Regards to getting the information out to the ratepayers. I still do believe it should be in a tax bill. That way you know that every resident taxpayer is going to receive the survey. If we don't do it that way and you put it online, not everybody goes online. Not everybody goes and does QR codes. And for $5,000, I'll be very honest with you, I would spend the $5,000. This has been talked about many times. And I think it's probably the best bang for your buck to see if there's really ever interest, if there's for overall waste recycling and curbside pickup. The other thing that I don't know if we talked about was a survey monkey. I don't know what the cost is. Another avenue to look at. But you talk about putting a prepaid postage envelope in the tax bill for their survey to be sent back. I don't think people are gonna really have a problem. Really, if they're really considering or interested in curbside pickup, I think they would spend $1 to send it back. If not, they can drop it off here at the township office. That's my opinion. We got mailboxes here, and I think we have to make it open to all. I don't think we need to try to shortcut.
Councilor Roosevelt.
Three questions.
Yeah, well,
Just for a clear understanding of prepaid and envelope included. Does that expense exist only if it's mailed? Or is it already like
We would have to put that cost up front.
upfront on every stand, on everyone that's, I thought they'd only pay for it, they return them. But no, okay, it's everyone. Okay. Still somewhat support Councilor Smith's idea of including it and still going other avenues, because I think this is a big decision that we're trying to make. This is not the first kick at the can, from what I hear, and I'd rather go over the top in trying to get the survey in people's hands and over the top, encouraging people to get it back. To make the decision, I'll say it's easier for us to have the right information from the right amount of people. And I don't know if people can hand them into the staff at the dump. I don't know if that's something we can ask them.
Yeah.
I mean, if they could, hand them out to people, I think that we have good staff at the dump, like, and they mix and mingle with people coming, and there's no negativity there. And if they hand us some surveys that really the council and the staff really need to respond to this, and you can mail it back or you can give it to me next time you're in, or something.
Here's a pen.
So I don't want to go on too long, but
Let's go ahead.
we just approved the minutes from the last meeting. And then there was a recommendation or encouragement. I don't think it was. I'm just wondering about the food processor that was food waste. We had a presentation on food waste last night, and there was a recommendation, I'm not sure if that's the right word, from this council that maybe promotion could be included with the survey as a reduction of garbage, and find out also if there's interest for people in that. That's a different topic. And I'm saying, I read the survey, it's not there, so you explain to me why it was. And where do we intend to share that idea with people? Is that a fair question right now?
Yeah, to your point, Councillor Strong, yes, the intent was to kind of twofold the information, whether we did the survey separately or with the tax bill, to also include the food cycler in addition to the newsletter. So you are correct in that. And further to your point, I would suggest that if council is interested in going forward with this survey, all of staff, we would certainly work for it and work towards going to the people to help in every avenue to get these responses in.
The director? Yeah, did you have something?
No, I was just gonna just follow up with that and say that I believe that the food cycler, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were going to provide us with some potential publications that we could send out, so it would be separate from the actual survey, but it might be mailed out at the same time. That's great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If saying this does fly, is the waste site going to be open to the public the same as it is today? Or is it going to be closed, or what happened there?
Administrator.
Sure, there is a clause in the opening statement that we are proposing, Councillor Brayton, that indicates that it is important to note that no changes are currently being proposed at the waste disposal site.
Thank you.
So go ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm going to support what Councilor Smith said in terms of this is a case where I think we need to, this is going to sound negative, but it's not meant that way. I think we need to remove every excuse that the population has for not liking whatever the ultimate decision is. So if we mail it to them, and if it's part of that mailing, we have a QR code so that if they want the community to just doing it from their home and submitting it that way or what have you, I think we need to use every avenue so that the people who really want it are going to make their effort to make their opinion known. The people who really don't want it are going to make the effort to make their opinion known. So if only 80%, if only 20% respond one way or another, despite all of our efforts, and the 80% just sit back and say whatever, then as far as I'm concerned, that's as good as not voting. You can't complain unless you participate. Here's your chance. We did everything we could, and so I'm very comfortable with making sure that we do everything we can to get it out to the people. I think it goes beyond just the topic itself. This is going to be a very interesting experience for us to find out about our population.
Councilor, no?
Is there a possibility of getting the information on that little machine? Because the question should be asked here, if they would spend the money on that machine for the composting of your weight, of your food waste. So if you're sending this out in a separate mailing, that's the time to send out the information on the composter. and ask the question within the survey, would you spend blah, blah, blah to get this?
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to respond to that in case you haven't thought about it in this particular way. The survey is all about an all or nothing decision, right? So once we get the information back, council is either going to decide on status quo for everybody, or we're going to decide on a change to a new level of service. The food cycler is a very different context in so much as if only 50 people say that they're interested, 50 is a level at which the food cycler people will allow the program to participate. So it's a very different context. I agree 100%. Send the information out at the same time. I respectfully disagree with confusing the survey by adding that as an item in the survey. Yeah.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Councillor Brayton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What's wrong with these people that have this food processor, whatever you want to call it? Why can't they sell them themselves? Why are they expecting us to sell the people to use them when it should be up to the people that own them? If they want to sell them, let them sell them, or go to a store that can sell. Why are they coming to us? That's what I can't understand.
I think in the presentation that they were saying that they would give us quite a substantial deal, getting it through the municipality, and you can buy them in the open public.
Yeah, but we are not in the service sales department. For them, with
Go ahead.
you're up there.
So I believe, I might be wrong, I could look into it, but I believe that the funding that they receive might be somewhat linked to us, to municipalities actually being the ones to process the sale of these units. So they may not get the funding that they are getting if we don't do it. Answer to you.
Yeah, or as follow up. What? I can't understand why. If they get funding and they get a certain amount from us and the funding. Why don't they put their price up and get what they want instead of trying to get us cornered to sell something that I don't know. I have never, just a minute, I have never seen them. I've never seen them. What are they asking for? $800? Is it worth $800? I haven't ever seen it. It might not be worth 5 cents. And here we are trying to sell something, peddle something that we don't even know what we're peddling. This is my kind of a concern that I have. Thank you.
Councillor Straub, then. Director, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and to Councillor Brayton, is in my humble opinion, I think we have a real interest in that machine, because one of the statistics he used was that 50% of household garbage was food waste. If 50% of the stuff, like we have a concern about the life of the dump. If we can reduce the amount of tonnage going there. And it would, you're not gonna get 100% of our residents to use it, but there's gonna be the ones that do, it could be reduced garbage going to the dump. That's the big picture. Now, if it's factual or not, but that's the picture. It's gonna reduce the amount of garbage. If that's an advantage to us, then we just might be in favor of encouraging people to think.
Director.
The counselor kind of stole my thunder, but that's okay. The other point I was going to make is that we wouldn't be necessarily looking, like, the whole point of reaching out to our residents up front is to kind of do like pre-sales where we know how many units we would sell, and so they would agree up front that yes, I would like to buy one of these through this program, and we would only bring in those units, and then they would be responsible to come to our office wherever it might be to pick up and pay for for what they agreed to buy.
Go ahead.
Just for a quick little fact, my father-in-law actually purchased one, I believe it's the same company, same program. And he filled up 4 or 5 gallon pails of waste. And in 4 hours, it grinds up a gallon pail, and now he's got like less than 3/4 of a pail of dry compost dirt. From 20 gallons of waste, so it does work,
From
and it's quick.
20 gallons.
20 gallons, so for every 5 gallon pail, it took about 4 hours to process it. And then he ended up with 3/4 of a 5 gallon pail.
No.
It was pretty neat.
So if I can just circle around, it sounds like we're in favor, of what Councillor Smith spoke about on the mail. We have kind of consensus on that.
Just the one thing with the mail, I'm just wondering, I don't think we need to put a stamped envelope in. I think you're giving enough options, and then just make it open that if these options do not work, but you'd like to participate, please contact us. Look. And then that way you're saving a lot of money on stamps just right there.
I agree. I agree. It's just if they don't fill the survey in, throw it out, they've thrown that money out too. So I'm in agreement with that too. Everybody else okay with that? So we're okay on that part. So the recommendation states that the report PW 2326 be received, and that council recommends that. The committee recommends that council approve the curbside waste collection survey as presented. And authorize staff to proceed with creation of electronic and manual version of the resident survey. So I think we've got enough there of what we're gonna path forward. Okay, we're good. Okay, so all in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Let's go to discussion. Like that. So we'll move on to the financial today.
We didn't even look at the survey itself, because I have some. Survey itself, no, it's 2 different reports. One was that letter, and then there's the survey itself. Anyway. I have some issues with the survey itself.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 3. No, only resident property would receive curbside service or pickup service. It would not apply to a business or a farm operation. Well, I don't thank you very much for that one. I'm a farm operation and my garbage gets picked up now, so if you take it away from me, I might be a cranky little person. That's wrong. On a lot of levels, but it's wrong.
Comments on
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll take a stab at that one. Of course, now you put it out in the public. If that was the intention of the existing system, fair enough. Personally, my understanding of the existing system was it was aimed at the residents. So it may be that your farm is not generating a great deal of waste. And so we only put a couple of bags out of the curb and so they just assume it's household garbage. I don't think that the curbside collection is designed to take your bale wrap, for instance. If you put that in garbage bags and put out 20 garbage bags at the end of your driveway, do we collect that? Really? Wow.
Charles.
Right, so I learned something new, and I don't think that it's intended for commercial operations either.
No, it's not, but.
Right.
The farming operation, that's where you live, that's.
Okay. Fair enough, so that's something that's valid to discuss. For sure.
No, I was just thinking we should.
Go ahead, Councillor.
I'm gonna follow up with Mayor Burrow. I have to agree with some of the comments. First of all, you know, we look at agriculture, we look at commercial business. We look at them as a business. And we talk about residential household waste. And, you know, you run a commercial business, you pay taxes, but we don't pick your garbage. And I wouldn't want to say what you said, but anyways, you made it public. But we don't, I don't think we collect all the waste from all the agriculture farm businesses. I don't know if we go to permit, right? We don't do that, for example, right? So I think, in my opinion, it needs to be clearer. It's residential household waste.
Go ahead, Director.
So there might be a perception that a farming operation and a household might be viewed as separate entities. So your household, where your house is, could be perceived that that's a residential location. And then there's a separate operation going on that may or may not be linked. Does that make sense? I'm just saying we have to be careful what we agree to do when I think by rights, we should not have been doing them.
Councilor Brady.
Thank you, where's the farmhouse, where are they gonna put the garbage, you don't pay it off?
Oh, that's what I'm trying to figure out. My house is my farm.
So if you're living in a house, and just because you live on a farm, you still should get your household garbage paid off.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's the point.
That's what I'm
you
saying.
should
Okay,
get
well,
that.
this reads
Now,
like a farming operation,
this,
so you assume.
The plastic and string and all this kind of stuff, there's of course a different color,
Okay,
but the house should be out of that.
Yeah, it's just the way it's worded.
okay, so,
So basically, it doesn't change. The level of service, what we're proposing isn't changing. The fact that, no, I'm not gonna say it.
so it's residential to the house and the farm. Okay, we all in agreement with that?
I appreciate
it.
Okay, just because they're in the same yard, that's all.
Yeah, so it's.
And
it's
I don't want them to
residential
drive
gardens to
right
your
out
house.
by
That's
because
not
the barn beside the house.
clear on that. Okay,
I am, I just was
so we're okay to move on from that then? Okay, we'll move on to financial to date. I get a mover and a seconder. The financials, Councilor Straw, Councilor Ely. Any questions or concerns on the financials? Seeing none, all in favor? Did you have a question, Councilor?
Yeah, that's finance, this is the lease side, right? Now, is this the time to talk about the John Deere loader?
No.
It's coming.
Just down, look
It's on
further.
the other one.
Okay. I don't have a question.
Okay, so all in favor of accepting the financial report? It's carried, thank you. Correspondence, any correspondence? Informational items? Anything on the public question period? No? Yes, go ahead.
Through you, Chair, just a reminder, that the hazardous waste, collection sites for the county has been posted, I believe, on our township website. And it's just a friendly reminder that, of the dates, the times of, and locations, for those, needing to dispose of their hazardous waste.
Okay, is there anything else? Okay, we're gonna move into Public Works Committee of the Whole, staff reports. 23-22. This report is to be received. I can get an over and seconder, get some, Councilor Smith and Mayor Burrow. Any questions or concerns on this report, Councilor Smith?
Thank you, Chair, through you to our director. I know that the previous council, we did pass that, we were putting aside, spend X number of dollars a year to have all our signs updated, and I believe that was to be done within a 3-year period. So this report, can you explain a little more to this report? Are we not there? We're there, or we're not? Or...
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're referring to is the inspection part of the sign process. We agreed to engage this company to do our yearly inspections. And that's what's happening. Last year, we as it's reported here, we did increase the budget for signs to replace those and try and improve these numbers, and that's what we've done. It's important to continue to do the inspections, because as you can see here by these numbers, yes, we have improved the good numbers by a lot, but we also had signs that were inspected in 2020 that likely were good and now have failed. So the process needs to carry on. It's a year by year thing.
Go ahead. Well, it was just me, but my regulation is that we put the money aside every year for 3 years to replace the signs.
That's not my
And what
regulation.
we do is all, it's correct, 10,000 for the next 3 years, $30,000. Because our signs were not up to the reflective code, I would say, to meet our standards.
Councilor now.
They're kind of sort of saying the same thing, but what you're saying. 3 years, $30,000 to replace the signs that are there now that need to be replaced, should be done. In 5 years from now, 4 years from now, those signs that were a little bit older. Are now in need of repair. I think this is an ongoing thing, and every year there's gonna likely be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 signs that need to be changed. Because the reflective does not last forever. It dims.
Councilor Smith, I just want to be clear, I think what you're saying is 10,000 is going to replace a bunch of these signs, right? And that's what I thought too, so just. Is that something that we can get info back as to what we were doing on that? Because that's kind of where I believe we went to. There was money set aside, that amount to replace a bunch of signs.
That's today. How are we doing?
Now, I understand, but I think what's happened is this is an inspection that's being done and telling us what it is. We had set aside a bunch of money to go to replace signs that were bad then. That's what I understand. We're on 2 different kind of tracks, I guess, but. You want to, Councilor Sterling?
Yes, thank you, Chair. A new thing for me again, and yearly sign inspection. Does this include the road sign, sign names? No, doesn't. Some of them are in need of repair.
Yeah, and this, yeah,
Okay. Deal with that some other time.
it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
But not, this is, like you said, warning sign. These are.
Warning and regulatory signs. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I'm about to contribute is not going to make it any easier on the budget, but that's no reason not to discuss. Once we get our inventory, and you know, I'm pleased enough with the progress for sure. It's a big improvement. But once we get our inventory up to snuff, one of the other areas where I think we were deficient is on the regular intervals of the speed signs in various areas, and it's become clear to us that the police are not interested in enforcing the speed where it doesn't meet the regulation, because then it provides a loophole where the accused gets to court and the police has wasted their time, because then the judge says, oh, well, they've got this excuse, and so they toss it out and let it go. So I'm not saying that's something we need to do this year, but no pun intended, I want to get that on the radar. Because I think that's something that we need to work towards as well. It will preempt, I think, some of the complaints that we'll be getting. Because people are becoming more informed about why the police are not visiting certain areas. So wanted to put that out there.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor of receiving the report? That's carried, thank you. 10.2. Report 23-23. It's another report of decommissioning equipment. This is report to be received. If I can get a mover and second to get down the floor. Councilor Linnell, Councilor Oosterhoff, thank you. Any comments or questions about this? Councilor Brayden?
Get back.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thanks. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Chair.
Did you enjoy your promotion as long as it lasted?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's good.
This loader. Or backhoe is, if it's finished. I would like to see us, I would like to see the township. We have a loader that we rent for loading the trucks here in New Dublin. We rented it for probably 8 or 10 years from the same person. I think it's $100 a day, and this is from the 1st of November till 1st of April or whatever, 6 months anyway. So that's $18,000 a year that we pay for that loader. At the time, I kind of was wanting to buy one, but kind of got shot down to that too. But we paid for that machine 2 or 3 times over. And it was a used machine to start with. So rather than us renting another backhoe, I think that we definitely need it, and we definitely should be buying them. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but that's that rental stuff is not a good thing. Thank you. Maybe have a.
Director, go ahead. Councilor Renaud.
Yeah, so you're correct, Councilor Brayden, but as reported in this report, the intention is to only rent a machine this year if we have to. And then in 2024, the budget will reflect the purchase of a good used loader to be primarily used in the winter months for loading and sanding salt.
So, do you think, Director, do you think that you can get along with one at this time?
Well, that's what we're saying here. We don't know yet. So we have to see how it goes. And if it seems like we cannot, then we will rent a machine to get us through until we don't need it anymore, I guess.
Yeah, if it comes to that you need one, maybe you should think about renting to rent to purchase. Could be an option.
The machines are
Look at.
different. So where our shortcomings will be seen is at the waste site and compacting the bins. Right now, they were using this Volvo backhoe primarily for the last 1.5 years or so, just to basically compact the bins as they got full, so we could get more into those bins. We have to see how it goes without having that machine there. And right now, what we're doing is we send the rubber tired excavator down once or twice a week to perform that task. If that isn't going to work, then we may have to come up with another solution.
This John Deere is one you're sending down there.
No, the rubber tired excavator,
No, this is one that does them.
the brushing, and then yes, that's right.
Councilor Renaud.
So you're planning on not renting? So I was thinking if you're renting it for the 6 months for the winter, but you don't have to pay repairs on it if you're renting it, the guy that you rented it from is the one that would.
The rental would not be for the winter. The rental of the loader would still have to happen for this coming winter, because we cannot afford to buy yet that machine until it's approved by council in the 2024 budget. The rental that I'm speaking of is a machine to be used at the landfill for the remainder of the year to get us through, if need be.
Councillor Smith.
Just a question for you, Chair and Director. Is this the only backhoe we have?
We have 2 backers. Half,
One
sorry.
broke.
So one broke,
The Volvo, yes,
okay, so you got one remaining
the John Deere, yeah,
for the whole township.
correct.
I'm very concerned. We have. My opinion, we have ditching work. That goes on. We only have one backhoe for this whole township.
And the garbage.
The rubber tired excavator was purchased to do all that.
Mayor. Brill, and then Councillor Brill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm gonna float something to consider that's gonna be contrary to what I normally I don't like the idea of approving a particular item or particular initiative outside the full budget discussion. This, but every rule has an exception, and this may be one of those cases. If we know that this is the direction that we're going to head in terms of getting a loader specifically that we own for the home operations, then we can't afford is an interesting phrase. I appreciate that we can't in terms of what we already passed as a budget, but we have something called the strategic initiative reserve. And it seems strategic to me if we know there's going to be 3 months worth of rent. So if we can take that $9,000 worth of rent and put that ultimately towards the purchase, which we will do in our budget cycle for 2024. But instead of waiting to buy it in 2024, we actually go ahead and get the unit. We apply that saving towards the purchase of the unit, and the budget cycle will replenish the strategic initiative reserve. So by the time the small call clears 9 months from now, when we finished our budget discussion, all the same dollars are going to exist in all the same places, but we will have applied the cost of the rental towards the purchase. And that seems like a financially strategic thing to do. So it's just something, we don't have to necessarily make that decision tonight, but I put it out there in terms of a different way of doing business to stretch the tax dollars rather than just seeing them flow out.
Councillor Smith, then Director.
Just a question in regards to the strategic reserve to our director, to our administrator. So is that something we can use that money for?
Through Chair Linton to Councillor Smith, I don't believe there are any parameters. I will confirm with our Director of Finance, but I don't think since this was a council established reserve that there are any specific parameters on the use of that reserve, but I will confirm.
Okay, well, then, for any time.
Councillor Brady.
Well, it seems to me that we're gonna need it. It seems that the dump waste site uses it quite often to pack the bins down. So if there's any way we can get out of not renting or leasing or whatever, if there's a way to, if the mayor says if there's a way to get it, I'm all for getting it.
Okay, so just hearing what everything's been said here, can we agree that we can give direction and bring back information on our strategic initiative reserve to the next meeting and look at that then? Everybody take on.
No, just. Do you have any idea how much a new one would cost?
So if you're referring to a new backhoe,
Yep.
I don't, because our focus was on a loader. So this is confusing, but the intention always was once one of the backhoes when we budgeted to purchase the rubber tired excavator, that the intention was then that machine would take the place of one of the backhoes that we have. In order to perform certain work. When that backhoe finally did become in a state that it could no longer be used, that would be surplus and a good used loader would be purchased in its place, not another backhoe.
Okay, so can we circle back then and bring back to us what we need?
Yeah,
So
that's,
if it's the loader that we need, can we get pricing on what that would be and bring that back? Is
yeah,
that
and
fair,
that was gonna be
Councillor Craig?
reflected in the budget, so.
The excavator. We bought an excavator to do the brushing. Now, are we gonna do the brushing at night? Or are we gonna not use it for brushing?
I'm not following you.
The excavator,
Right,
we bought it to cut, to clean up brush and do the ditches and whatever, right?
that was part of the reason, yes.
So if you're gonna use, are you gonna be using the excavator every day? And this is what I'm saying, are we gonna cut the brush at night or we're not gonna cut the brush or what?
The machine will still be used to cut brush. It will also be used to do ditching and culverts and all that too. We can't, it was never the intention that that brusher would be working every day. That was just never the thought.
Just on point of that too, I believe that comes with a whole bunch of attachments that can, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Councillor Smith.
So I'm looking at bang for your buck. And I look at backhoe as a multifunctional piece of equipment. A front end loader is just a loader.
Yep.
So. When I'm looking at dollars and cents, I'm looking at something that's gonna give me. Productivity doing other things. So I think when you come back with your pricing through your chair. Show us the price of both the front end loader and the backhoe. And then tell us really, you know. Pros and cons, you don't want this for whatever reason, but to me, I'd rather have a multifunctional piece of equipment that can do multiple things. Front end loader, if it's only gonna load a truck, and that's all it's gonna do is, I don't see. Benefit unless it's a regular price. So I'm asking.
Pretty sure you'll get the same information from. Same person who's on the loader as the back. Yes. Okay, so.
Understood.
So. This report is to be received. And we have direction of what we need to come back. Okay, all in favor of receiving the report? That's carried, thank you. 10.3. Report PWWM 23-24 project update. This report is also to be received. Can I get a mover and second? And get that on floor, please. Councilor Edie and Mayor Burrow. Any questions or concerns about this report? Councilor Smith, and then Mayor Burrow.
Chair to our director. How or has the work been going on the Blue Road and our turtles? We started,
The monitoring started on the 1st. June 1st.
June 5th, okay. Another question. I was sent a photo showing province of Ontario, big blue signs on Airport Road. Can someone explain to me if that was tax dollars? Or was that government funding that's doing that road?
It's a combination of both. I believe actually, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that the dollar amount that's indicated on the sign is the amount of government funding that we allocated to that project.
That's the same as Town Road as well.
I believe so, yes.
That's just the other path.
That's just our portion of road work that we're responsible for.
Thank you.
Amber. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So through you, I'm just wondering if our director can give us a few more details about the type of work that is being done on Kitley Line 8. The rationale. I've had a couple of calls from residents along there just looking for information. They were wondering why we were starting at that particular point. Converting it to gravel. Why did we not start in the village and just work our way down the road? That so you can provide a little bit more insight.
So the Kitley Line 8 up to Leacock Road was previously rebuilt and paved. So we're just continuing on from that point to rebuild the grade to an acceptable standard. Including the ditches and the culverts and rock removal where we need it and that kind of thing.
And are you planning on any additional cross culverts in the area that you're working on? Have we got that far in the assessment of what's required, or do you not know that?
There's no intention at this time.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. If there are any other questions, I'll just send them directly to you. Thanks. Councilor Great.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is the right place to put it. In there, but I'd like to ask the director through you, the director to. How was Murphy Road hanging up and Alex, where the heavy traffic are going, and is there any update on the Alex West? Is there anything going on up that way?
So Halch Road West, I have the radar signs on that road now, and they will continue to be on that road for the foreseeable future. I look at it every week and there's no change in the traffic volumes at all. It's staying consistent. Right from, except the only exception was the first Saturday of the closure of the 401. That day there was a spike, but other than that, and Halch Road West is holding up very, very well. Murphy Road, no complaints. Again, I don't believe it's seen a huge uptick in traffic. It might be marginal, but no complaints, and it seems to be holding up well. And then, of course, House Road South, the portion that's going to be rebuilt is in very rough shape, but that's going to be fixed.
Yeah. Well, Murphy Road. Is it you doing any extra grading on it, or is it just there's normal?
So far, no, it's the normal.
Because I was told that there was a lot of holes in Murphy Road and the traffic was terrible. And the triaxle trucks, there's 15 or 20 of them drawing into or away from Alex.
There may be at times, yes, but it's not consistent at all.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you can only believe how what's seeing here.
Any other comments?
Yeah, thanks.
Any other comments? Nope, so we're gonna receive the report.
I'm glad for that report.
Okay, all in favor of receiving the report? It's carried, thank you. Move on to 10.4. Report PWWM 23-25, United Counties Leads and Granville, supply and delivery of petroleum fuels. This report is to be received, and that committee accepts staff recommendation to award and supply delivery of all petroleum fuels fuel products and propane gas to W.O. Stinson and Sons based on terms outlined in the report. And that committee accepts staff's recommendation to proceed with provisional work implementing the fuel tracking system to a total combined upfront cost of $24,850 plus HST. And to be funded from revenues generated from the sale of the fleet equipment in 2023, as well as the strategic initiative fund. Comments, concerns? Yeah, moved by Councillor Smith.
I'd like to make something.
Okay, can we second it and get it on the floor first?
Yeah.
Okay, second by Councillor
Yeah,
Brayton.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was there quite a savings from what we did last year, Charlie?
Close to 30,000.
Saving,
Saved.
good, it's nice.
Anyone else? Mayor Burrow.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Yeah, I'm glad to see this finally come to fruition. When I was first elected and got to the county's table, there didn't seem to be a lot of appetite for this type of collaboration at the two levels. And it's something that has been discussed on an ongoing basis, and I'm glad to see it finally come to fruition. I don't think this is the only thing that we'll see offers of collaboration on. And you know, that 30,000, that's basically 10% saving of last year's cost, even allowing for, you know, inflation and that type of thing. So it's bearing fruit. Really happy to see it. Thanks.
Councillor Smith.
There's a correction, at one time, going back,
Yeah.
we did go in with the counties on the fuel. What happened after that, I can't answer that for you, but, we did start the process of, doing the share and purchase. Yeah.
So any other comments? So this as recommended, everybody's good with that? So all in favor of this recommendation? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Any correspondence? The financial to date, 12.1. Report is to be received. I get a mover and second to receive this report. Mayor Burrow, Councilor Renaud. Any questions or concerns on this report? All in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Informational items. Or informational items, public question period. Yeah. So we're going to move on to the closed meeting. So we'll close out of this and report back to complete this meeting.
We just need a mover and seconder.
Okay, mover and seconder to Councilor Eady and Councilor Brayton. All in favor? Carried. Cold. Opposed?
Yeah. Got it.
It's like she.
We're in the process of recruiting more members. We've been having forum issues, so the last meeting or maybe 2 meetings have been canceled. But we are working on some new membership to regain momentum.
I realize you've given us good insight in your weekly report. I appreciate that, like with the cards and stuff like that. I mean, she was here and I think it was a resource. I would have maybe asked her some things about her job and how we could help her or not, but I didn't really get anything.
I guess we just need to return.
Okay, so we can have a mover to adjourn the regular meeting. Counselor Smith,
Mr. Chair, point of order, if I can suggest that we just put a report out on the closed session.
okay. So we'll report out of the closed session that we gave direction on the items that we had in front of us. We're looking to adjourn this part of the committee of the whole, moved by Counselor Smith. All those in favor? Carried.